William Bast first saw James Dean during UCLA's production of Shakespeare's Macbeth, where Jimmy played the role of Prince Malcolm based on the historical Malcolm III of Scotland, the wronged son of slain monarch Duncan I, seeking revenge. The performance, according to Bast in his memoir Surviving James Dean, left much to be desired. Jimmy, to Bast, lacked any sort of talent in acting, fumbling around on stage with all of the grace of a fish flopping about on land. His girlfriend at the time, Joanna, was in the play as well, hence why he was there in the first place. And once it wrapped, she took Bast backstage to meet Dean, whom she described as a terrific guy. Entering Jimmy's dressing room, the two walked in on him, sizing himself up in the mirror, curiously bumping his belt buckle against the glass. William quipped, "It looked like fun," earning a grunt and glare from Dean, who didn't seem to take the joke in a good-natured way. Despite this rocky start, the two formed a lasting friendship, which, at least in the beginning, was pursued more by Jimmy than Bast, who seemed cautious at accepting this farm boy, as he thought of him, into his life. Around the same time he met William Bast, Jimmy also scored his first agent, Isabelle Dresemer, who helped him in turn book his first paid acting gig on a Pepsi-Cola commercial. While Dresemer wasn't a big name in Hollywood, being a small-time agent, she was a step in the right direction for Jimmy, and with her help, he booked a few small roles through his college years. Bast and Jimmy eventually moved into an apartment together after Jimmy got thrown out of his fraternity for starting a fight over defending Bast's honor when some of his frat brothers assumed correctly Bast was gay, with Jimmy promising him he would introduce him to Isabel and try his best to convince her to take him on as well. Bast, an aspiring actor and writer, was struggling just as much as Dean was to establish himself in the film industry at the time, and this offer by Jimmy sealed their friendship. But despite these early days of success at UCLA, Jimmy battled demons he rarely let anyone else know about. Bast noted he was often moody, sometimes staying inside his room for days at a time without talking with him or anyone. Like many artists, whether budding rookies or experienced masters, Dean suffered from depression, sometimes severely so, stemming from the traumas of his childhood and teenage years, combined with the rocky relationship between him and his father, who never tried to understand him. Mental health treatment, then, was practically non-existent. A few doctors took it seriously, but none close to where Jimmy was, and even if one had been it's unlikely he would have gone for fear the stigma might destroy his prospects as an actor. So like many souls, Jimmy pushed through on his own, steeling himself against the pain as best he could while honing his craft. In 1950, convinced university would just hold him back, Jimmy dropped out and focused on acting full-time, nabbing a role as John the Apostle on Hill No. 1, a Easter special about the Passion and Resurrection of Christ. It was a small role with little money involved, but it was a step up the ladder. Soon thereafter, he landed the part of an unnamed soldier in the WW2 film Fixed Bay, which went uncredited. These roles, while important in giving him experience, did not pay his bills. To do that, Dean served as a parking lot assistant, a job he excelled at even if he hated it most days. It was while working as a parking lot assistant he met Rogers Brackett, a radio director with many connections in Hollywood. Brackett, who was gay, saw in Jimmy a vulnerable younger man and wasted little time in pouncing. He acted the concerned father figure at first, helping him land small roles here and there. But in exchange, as well as for a place to stay, Brackett soon began seeking sexual favors from Dean. Already taken advantage of by Duard back in Indiana, gave in to this new mentor, pleasuring him whenever he wanted. Worried that if he stopped, Brackett would somehow make sure he never worked in California ever again. Apart from his relationship with Brackett, Dean spent many hours with Bill Bast, who inspired him to widen his reading to include plays both of the classical variety and modern works by Samuel Beckett, Tennessee Williams, and others. Through Bast, Jimmy also took up clay sculpting, developing a modest talent for it he would retain for the rest of his life. In 1951, acting on the advice of veteran actor James Witt, who he took acting classes from in L.A., Jimmy left California for New York, the hub of the arts in the U.S. at the time. Here, he tried out for, and was accepted into, the Actors Studio, one of the most prestigious drama institutes of the era, though he seems to have not been much of a student, withdrawn and keeping to himself. While in New York, Jimmy earned roles in various CBS shows such as Studio One, The Web, and Kraft Theater. While away from Brackett physically, The older man continued to exert influence over him from afar, and whenever he visited the city, he made sure to pay Dean a visit to relive old times. With the help of Brackett and a mutual friend, James Sheldon, Dean landed a new agent in the form of Jane Deasy, a former switchboard operator turned acting agent who, it would prove, was well suited to the profession. It was Deasy who landed Jimmy the role of Bachir, a North African houseboy and gay man. In the adaptation of André Gide's The Immoralist in he won praise for his performance, his emotional power and boyish good looks, helping him along the way. This praise turned into calls from Hollywood, and by 1953, Jimmy was hired to portray Cal Trask, the protagonist in East of Eden, an adaptation of John Steinbeck's novel of the same name, thus beginning the brightest period of his career.